I'm early.
Doctors, sword masters, and the mystical Bene Gesserit sisterhood.
Oh, do I have to click? Sorry.
But it
I'm
was the
scared.
navigators and their monopoly on space travel that set the conditions for the Imperium.
It's right when I start, the cats start fighting.
But I am telling you of the universe you already know. Let me describe the one you do not. In this other universe, my mother, Lady Jessica, consort to Duke Leto
I
Atreides,
keep thinking she's supposed to
birth
look
to
like
a
how she
daughter,
looks in the
a girl
movies.
they named Ariste.
Hi, Jaku. Hello.
Because of her obedience to the Bene Gesserit,
Good morning.
Lady Jessica is trained as a truth-sayer.
It's
Because of
chapter
that training, Lady
2.
Jessica was able to detect
I'm so
Dr.
excited.
Wu-Wei's
I wonder if there's
deception.
a change in the intro. Probably not, but I'm letting it
Because of the
play out
forewarning of
because
his
I.
betrayal, House Atreides survived the Battle of Arrakis. Because of their survival, the Emperor declared a full-scale war of assassins. Because of the war, the Sardaukar were deployed to ensure spy shipments continued without interruption. Because of the Sardaukar, the Fremen were eradicated. There was no
Mouse on
Muad'Dib,
screen?
no Lisan al-Gaib, no
What?
Kwisatz Haderach.
Why isn't it the special one?
I see a universe where I, Paul Atreides, was never born.
Where is that emo from?
All my visions lead to horror, except this one.
It's like the Sims one that we have in the Discord. Why is it the normal mouse? Whoa. Okay, hold on. Why? It's just. Okay. Game update. Downtime 1.5 hours. What if? What if? Someone gifted me and that person apparently has us. Is it a Sims thing? I love it, honestly. When I kind of use it seriously too. Whenever someone does something, I'm just like, minus friendship. Did you choose the perfect time for maintenance? Listen, I mean, technically, if it is undergoing maintenance right now.
Mayday! Mayday! This is the Guild Harvester Mithra! Crew tag 8242. Our carry-on is taking heavy fire. There's black smoke, and they're not responding to comms. Carry-on hit!
How's audio?
Connector cable snapping! We're going down!
Uh-oh! Spaghetti-o! Hi, Panther! Hello! Oh my goodness. Welcome in, how are you? Hi, hi! So that sounds like an emergency. But what's also an emergency is my face. So I'm gonna go to Arrakis. I'm gonna go to Arrakis and see if the customer in the Zin is there. This will be the last time. Can I use this? The last time I say the words, she's so pale. Also, we have taxes to pay up there. I told Grim that if he doesn't want me taking his money, he should go log in and pay his taxes. So if I go to Arrakis, pay my taxes, and I see that his taxes are still due, I'm gonna pay it, go to his base, steal his money. The VTuber's like, thank you. It's more reflective of me. All right, let's refuel generators. 31 days of power. Everything's powered down right now. This is so useful. I didn't know how to read this before, but this is much more useful now. Like, this is how much we're using, this is how much is available, and how much we're generating. So lovely. And then our water is full. I do intend to go to the deep desert, get some ore to use this up. I don't think Ven has gone to the deep desert this week for spice. You can't give up your Harkonnen heritage like that. Listen, it wasn't supposed to be this pale. It looked normal in the customization screen. Do you guys want a tour of the base? I kind of did stuff, but not a lot. Kind of did stuff, but not a lot. This is where we harvest most of our water. Not really. No, not anymore. This is... what is this? Medium ore refineries? I think Ven's been here. The death stills need to move. This is no longer a water chamber. This is our old spice refinery. Everything down here is mostly the same. Let's see. That's where we hide all of our water. This is still the same. The outside is mostly the same. It's so clean now. Yay. Thanks. I wanted all of that to be spaced out here, honestly. And then remove this, because we have a hangar. You built all this? I want to say yes. Ven helped. Yeah. I have Miswa that also plays. She logs on sometimes. Grim has access to the base, but I don't think he builds anything, so it's fine. So yeah, it's mostly me. It's mostly me. You see this base and you're like, wow, a whole guild base, and I was just like, no, it's just me. It's just an Ellie, little obsessed with this game. I built a lot of like large water cisterns because I really want 1 million. What is this? I really want 1 million, and I need to build one more, but I need beryllium, I think, and I need jasmium for that. So I need to go to the Sheol for some jasmium, but I'm scared because I don't have iodine pills for the radiation. I blocked this off. No, I didn't. I guess I didn't. I built a door. I don't use these anymore because let's go upstairs. I should probably take those down and block it off like I wanted to. I built this random balcony for the heck of it. Don't look at that. It's not finished. Everyone can contribute? Yes. As long as I give them permissions. Like if they're in my guild, then they'll have access. Yeah. So associates can access all of the chests. At least this one. Oh, I don't know why that's here. But if I give them like co-owner, I'm pretty sure they'll be allowed to like build too. And then if they don't have, like, this is Atreides, or I think, yeah, this is Atreides. But if they build like using the base construction thingy, it'll look like, oh, that guy's gone. It'll look like that build. But if they build something, I'll just replace the parts with Atreides stuff, so they can technically build a the skeleton, and I'll just put a skin over it. This is our large wind trap. I turned it off because our water's full. We have 3 or 4. 3. 4. I can't count. Is the neighbor still alive? There was somebody building here, but they moved over there. They moved. This neighbor is still here. Oh, their base is unpowered. Well, okay, they patched that, so we can't exactly raid his base anymore, but it's not powered anymore. Let's see our other neighbors though. I can't see it that well from here, but this is our large spice. This is Ven's pride and joy. I think we like saved up so much for this. Will we ever get this much spice? Oh, we have a lot. Actually, never mind. We do have a lot. It takes 7,500 spice to make 200 spice melange. It's a lot. You need a lot of spice. Our next goal is to build a sand crawler. Oh wait, no. A sand carrier. No wait. A carrier ornithopter. And then a carrier ornithopter and then a sand crawler to make it easier. But those people like to take those down. They like to like follow you in the deep desert and like destroy it. So yeah, I think that's a base down there. Somebody still lives there. Hi, Misa. How are you? Ben's been grinding as well. He's been grinding a lot of spice in the deep desert. And honestly, good for him because I'm not going there. They made gathering in the deep desert a lot easier, but I'm still scared, so I'm not going there. I'm over here giving a tour and somebody's like, Mayday, Mayday, help! Sorry, I gotta go get plastic surgery first. I think I have all my money on me. Let me check. It's Dune! It's time for Dune! I have to remember how to play too, because I keep pressing F to interact with things, and it's not working. I don't have money. Let me check my inventory. I should probably repair that. Okay, so my guns are atrocious. And, I don't think I need... I definitely need to repair that. Okay, stop pressing F. I'm drinking my reserve water. I need this one repaired. I don't have a recipe for cope. Everything else is fine. I don't know why I have this. Guess I keep pressing F. I've been playing other games too long. Did I accidentally do something? No, I didn't. Okay. I'm excited to get back into this story. Let's see what's there. I think it's this. I have all of the deep desert quests to do and I don't want to do them. I think that's it. It's just the call. And then there's also something about something about the DLC. It's supposed to be active for me. I don't know yet. I don't know if the call is it or not. Are you okay, vehicle? Yeah, that looks great. You know, never better. Orange. We're fine. It's okay. Alright, I gave Grim a heads up. I told him I would pay on Wednesday. I'm paying taxes on Wednesday, and if he still owes taxes, I'm taking his money. We're gonna go to the city for two things. Okay, I'm saying it out loud right now so I don't forget. We're going to pay taxes and become not pale. Get rid of our Harkonnen heritage. If they don't let me change my skin tone, I swear. What is the point? What is the point? Friendly reminder, hydrate. I do feel a little bit nasally today, so I think I am getting sick. Unfortunately, I got caught in the rain the other day, and I was going on a walk for a little exercise, and then it started raining. So yeah, and I was like so far from the car, so we had to walk a little longer in the rain. Showered immediately after, but I'm still feeling a little, you know. So back to work. Oh, thank you so much for stopping by, Panther. I missed you. Have fun at work. Be safe. Mwah, 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 mwah. Okay. a little bit under the weather. So, yeah, I have my water. It's iced. So it probably shouldn't be iced, huh? I should probably be drinking like warm and hot drinks. Like today is the one day I didn't make tea. Ugh. Okay. Hopefully you won't get sick. I hope not. Thank you so much. Take care. My nose is a little itchy too. I might sneeze here in a little bit. I wonder who's it gonna be. Supposed to be some kind of what? Benetililax? No. So some kind of person is supposed to be the one that changes us. We know now what we are. Is it you?
Next.
Okay. Goodbye. So rude. Next. Like, okay. Guess that's a person for later. Let's go look. Has to be here somewhere. Has to be. Oh, wait. Has this always been here? Was this always here? Audio's all good, by the way. Thank you. Whoa. I don't think these are always here. Dr. Nylia Shafat. I want to do this because it looks like the thing, maybe. A doctor? You're a doctor? Surely you can fix my face. Not my face, my skin tone. That means there's quests in Harko too. This quest, I finished everything except for this quest. And I wanted to finish it like before chapter 2 came out, but I never did. I'll do it later. This one. Right. Where's that? Oh, but first. We need to go. Oh. We need to go pay our taxes. I read that to do the change thingy, you have to do a quest, so I may as well accept all of them and do them real quick. But I don't want to rush through it and finish everything in one day and then not have any content for like the next update. Hello?
You again? What now?
He looks different. This is not what you looked like before. Oh, it's changing POVs, not POVs. It's changing camera angles. That's new too. They didn't pay their taxes. They didn't pay their taxes. Hold on, I have to get proof. Screenshot real quick. Sorry. I got a screenshot, you know? So I have like proof. Time to let them rot now. I gotta pay it. So, hey. Alright, I paid everyone's taxes. Wait, I need to get proof that I paid it too. Actually, it's like, if you want proof, well, I can't talk to him anymore. Hello?
You again?
I have to stand up and have to stand up and get right in his face. Alright, sent it to Grim. I've paid your taxes. I paid our starter house taxes too. In case we have people who want to join and you need a base to start out in, we have a starter home close to the anvil, I think. Alright. I assume that this person would be hidden somewhere very far. Somewhere like one of these things, right? It should be like an establishment of some sort. This is the end of that. Oh wait, there's a quest here. It's you! Where? Was this here before? We found it. We found the right quest. Hey. Oh, she's tall. Let me look around your room first. I see. Looks pretty clean. Where does the operation happen? No beds? I just take it like right here? Okay. Hey!
You do not appear to be injured or ill. So what brings you to my clinic?
Requires 5,000 Solari. I wish to alter my appearance. I can do it right now. I don't even have to do her quest. Ah! See, she does not look pale. She looks normal. I guess right here she looks pale. That's the lighting. Okay. You guys get to see my stats. Don't look at her. She's naked. Okay, this is Harkonnen pale. See, I did not choose the palest option, which was this. This is fine, right? I kind of like this. I want to go to different. What did I have earlier? Can I zoom in? It's her face. So this is what I had before. Yeah, the lighting in the thingy. Don't bleed on the carpet. There's like, I thought we were supposed to do a quest for this. She looks normal. I guess this would be the closest. I like this. I just need to change her like lip color. Watch me not be happy with it though. Now that I'm looking at like the tanned version, I am seeing I am seeing how pale she is when I swap back. I think it's because I had like my eye saver mode on while I was making her. So like I didn't see it in its fullness. I guess it would be this. Like the difference between these two is like already so different. I guess we'll do this. Back. Did it change it? Okay. Makeup. Is it time for some makeup? What if we made her a hot mess? The desert has not been kind. Kind of like this. Whoa. Hundreds of hours in Dune does things to you. What if I made it like this, but blue? It's like smoky. It's just smoky eyes, guys. Whoa! It's the spice. It's coming out me eyes. The spice. It's the spice, man. I got it in me eyeballs. I like the red look though. I always go for the red look. Like this. Yes. Whoa. Crazy. This is gonna be the rest of the gameplay, guys. I actually streamed a bit early because I knew I would take a while doing this. Oh. Lip color a little darker. Ooh, that's very orange, actually. Okay, back to that. Maybe the strength. Jeepus. Jeepus. It's not that good anymore, this color. It's too much now. This might... No. My eye saver mode on my monitor is not on, so... Is it too much? Now it's none at all. I kind of see a difference. She looks so weird. Make it glossy. Whoa. Super zoomed in. Metallic, yes. It doesn't even look metallic. Is it because the lipstick strength is... Honestly, I like this look. Yeah, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Should we give her tats? Mentat? Oh, soul divider? What's the mentat one? What? What's mentat? One of these is a mentat. Spice flow. Ew. Terraformer's mark? Whoa. Should we be a spook doctor? Solar circles. Can't even see it. Oh yeah, there's new hairstyles too. What's this? Chakobsa sigil. Chakobsa. I thought this was mentat marks. Lotus crown. I like this. Cosmic pathway. Why can't we have two? Shall we mark our face? I've always liked the look of like white tattoos, but you can barely like see it. I forgot they let us do this now. Yeah, there's new hairstyles too. I doubt I'll change my hairstyle because I love this. A lot of my OCs actually have this hairstyle with the bangs and then a bun. Kind crazy. What happened to the tats? Wow, I love the red. We'll see it when we what did I say I liked? Was it this? Was it this? Whoa. We can be cool. Body. I don't like that. Whoa. It's like a worm, I think. The Maker's Coil. Void Loop. I can't even see that. Infinity Bands. Solar Sleeve. Geometric Fade. It looks like snake patterns, you know? Profit of Growth. Ooh, Miso, you should get this one. I don't know if you can see it. I'm in the way. I'm in the way. Melange Tides. Mark of Cielago. Oh, the bat. In honor of Zentara? I'm good. Tattoo age 1 9. I got this recently. Oh, it fades. I like the light pink color. I got this tattoo 9 years ago, apparently, guys. Head scar. Ooh, should we have a scar? I mean, you know. I don't see it. Scar depth. Got a scar. From the... What is it called? Not the Golas. The little monster things. I don't remember. They ate our face. Nah, I'm good. No scars. Hairstyles! There it is. Alright. What's new? Whoa! Fancy. Fancy lady. A heckin' bob. Isn't this like He-Man's hairstyle? Am I thinking of someone else? This but blonde. Oh my god, you get a bald spot. Honorary bald spot, y'all. Hey team. Hey, what? Hey dev team? This looks like Prince Charming from Shrek. Prince, like, just make it blonde. Oh, this is cool too. Yeah. Not for me though. I think I'm gonna stick to my... Ooh. I think... Jeebus, this majestic mane. I think I'm gonna stick to my hairstyle. Any new hair colors? Is it time? Guys, is it time? Is it time? What did I have it as? Was it black before? Or was it like a dark brown? Ooh. Is it time? My eyebrow color. Can it be pink too? Wow, it can. I like my eyebrows darker. Eyebrow detail. That's fine. A beard! Do you guys... Do you guys remember a long time ago when I had the Ara Ara redeem, but I would only do it if I put on a beard filter on my face? Do you guys remember that? No, just me? Okay, yeah. Yep. Keep it in the past. That was a lifetime ago, actually. Doesn't exist anymore. I kind of want to change her face. Sclera tint? What's that? Whoa! You can't even see her eye color anymore. I want to make her eyes bigger. That's one thing I noticed is that she squints a lot, and it might be because of that. I made her super squinty. Maybe eye bigger. Whoa, it's too much. Maybe I can keep her squint, but like make the eyes bigger. Maybe not. I like the size of her pupils. Maybe the iris. Too much. I'm so picky with this. Sorry guys, we'll get there eventually, okay? We'll go back to playing games at I have 5 minutes. I was thinking like it's gonna be okay starting this early because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna spend like an hour customizing my character, and then we'll get back to our regularly scheduled gameplay programming. But we're 5 minutes to 11, which is when I usually start. 8? Too high. I want it a little bit lower too. What was it at before? Was it at 4? Eye width a little bit wider. Is this just how far apart it is versus how wide it is? It's how far apart it is. It's depth. I'm fine with the depth. I'm scared of that eye color only looking nice in this lighting. It's 5,000 Solari to change your appearance. I have enough. Should I be safe and just make it black? My tattoo, my face tattoo doesn't even show with this. I should change it to the one that's more dramatic, huh? I made her squint less. Is there a way I can save this? Nose detail, mouth detail, skin redness. Girl, you got rosacea? Oh! A little bit of a blush, a little bit of sunstroke, a little bit of... Maybe not. They don't have blush in this universe? It's fine. Is it time to change your voice? It's like Minecraft all over again. It's like the only... Okay. I actually like my height. When I find people that are shorter than me, I'm like, oh. So you're tiny is what you're saying. Vitiligo. Strength. No, I just want to see. I don't see anything though. Oh, it's because I'm pale. I don't see anything because I'm pale. Freckles. Density. I wish they were like the small kind, you know? I'll keep it at 2. Do we... Hair color. It's okay, we can change our hair color like... any time of day. Smile. It's just... It was just the skin tone that I was really worried about. I really wanted to change. Is this close to my hair? No, my hair's lighter. This? 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 No, no, no. This? That's really red. This? Wow. I can't be in the game. I'm not allowed in the game, y'all. Blue! Ooh! I kinda like this color. Not on me, but I like this color. I have an OC with not this hair, but like a mix of this and this. Her name is Mint. The white. I love white hair. Wow, I like this color. I love this color. Shall we go the complete opposite? We were this, and now we're this. Right? We're in the morning. What is this thing? Spoilers. Shadowheart. We're gonna go through our Shadowheart arc. Yeah, let's do this one. And then make the eyebrows. Nope. The eyebrow color. Not pink, but like brown. Shadowheart. So she's like white or whatever. It has to tell. I think it has to tell a story, you know? We'll go white, and then we'll go pink. Right? Right? Yeah, yeah. Oh, but the face tattoo? Is it? It's not as dramatic anymore, huh? Man, who is this? Who are you? I don't know you anymore. I can't even see. Just like how thin this is. But I can see like under her thing, it's like super pale. Or large. Super large. Did you see? Mind the way. Get this. Vortex stripe. Man, I'm sure that looks cool if only I could see it. Whoa. This reminds me of like shark gills. You guys can't see it. I can't move out of the way. I think I'm over it already. I kind of want to go back. Wait, I don't want to leave that there. On. This one. I'm over it. Shadowheart arc is over. Did I have this? Like a charcoal gray? Or was I this? Man, I don't remember. This is kind of pink. Kind of. I feel like it's only in this lighting though, you know? I feel feel like it's only in this lighting. I'm being scumazed. Whoa. Is that the right? Man, I don't know. I feel like my character is judging me. She's like, please get it over with. I have things to do. People just, oh my god, that Mayday. That SOS earlier. Oh no. You better hope in an emergency your signal doesn't connect to mine. I'm gonna go put makeup on first. Was it this that I liked? Or is it this? Oh, that's eyebrows. Wait, isn't this a look? Lately, I feel like Lady Gaga dyed her brows white, and then Jenna... I forgot her name. Jenna Ortega? Like, shaved her brows recently. I swear it's a look. A look for me? Unlikely. But a look nonetheless. I just don't like how when you... What is this? When you color your brows, your eyelashes stay black. I guess you can't customize your eyelashes. Alright, we gotta go. we gotta go. We gotta get out of here. I think we'll stick to one color. And then we'll just... We'll change it as we see fit, right? You know? 5,000 Solari isn't hard to come by. Does it look pink? Is it pink-ish? Or am I delusional? Am I viewing life through rose-tinted eyeballs? Did I look at this color too much? Supposedly this is strawberry red, and this is pale pink. And this is light brown. I want a mix of this and this. Should we just go with the pink for now? Dippus. I can't decide! Try it. Try what? Pale pink? Light brown. I like them both. The stylists, the hairdresser of Arrakis. We'll go with this. Rose gold. If only. If only. Okay. Finish. Ta-da! Ta-da! Ah! Time to despair. Why does she look so sad all the time? And she's still squinting. Like, girl, please. I made you not squint. Why do you squint so much? I like the hair. But, like... I swear we fixed this. We fixed this!
We meet again.
She's not squinting here. Is it her mouth? Mouth details? Mouth angle? It's all normal. She looks fine. She looks normal! I don't remember what it was before. Was it this before? Was it this? depth. It was definitely 6, I think. Mouth size, mouth angle, mouth height. Whoa. Why did it go down? What? It was this before, wasn't it? You're joking. What was it before? I think I'm being lied to. She looks so sad. Girl, what's wrong with you? She's like, get me out of here. She's having a bad day. She has a bad day every day. Wow, okay, actually not that. We're not that different, I guess. Oh, this is atrocious in here. That's that looks horrible in here. She kind of looks like a Barbie doll. We're still repping House Vernius in honor of our late husband. Okay. I guess this is us. For the next... Is her mouth too wide? Look at her, she looks so sad. She's like... Girl, we're not actually mourning though. Like, come on. I'm gonna get close to a wall so I can look at my face. So she's not too pale anymore, at least. I kind of miss the black hair, though. Oh, these lights. This lighting. Oh. I'm a fan of, like, the chin tattoo, but I'm, like, pointing at my chin as if you guys can see that. I'm a fan of the chin tattoo, just not the forehead one, which is great because you can't see it. But I know it's there. Let's not stand in the sun. Maybe this soft lighting. It'll be 5,000 Solari to dye our hair pink. But you know what? It's fine. Oh wait, we have a quest with her. Hey, lady!
We meet again.
I'm here regarding the contract you
I
posted.
came to this war-torn planet to do good. Instead, vital equipment and medicine is stuck in administrative hell. No doubt the supplies are flagged for the shady origins. I would be grateful for anyone to go to the customs office and straighten this out.
Talk to people? I realize I'm not fit to be a main character, guys. Being a main character requires... Oh gosh, we're so bright. Requires talking to people and making phone calls. I would rather... I would rather not. Whoa! Did y'all see that? Did y'all see that? What kind of creature? Now that's a argument. I'd rather die than make phone calls. No. We don't speak that way here. I would rather kill a hostage. We kill hostages here, not ourselves. Never ourselves. You know? We have to make it everyone else's problem first. Oh, it's you. Hello.
Ah, come back to hold up the line again, have we?
This guy looks like the first guy at the anvil. The one that lost. Whoa. What do we think? Seeing ourselves like this, what do we think? Thoughts? Thoughts, prayers, maybe? Not squinting. Yeah, she's not squinting here. She looks normal here. If anything, her nose is a little upturned too much. She kind of looks normal. I have questions regarding a delayed shipment to a medical clinic.
Ah, yes. Nylia Shafat, the Souk doctor.
What did you call
I'm
her?
afraid she was flagged for a special screening due to security concerns. You'll need a T-797 permit.
Security concerns?
Let's just say the vendors weren't exactly reputable. There are suspicions of criminal activity, or worse, Harkonnen involvement. We need to be sure.
Perhaps you should run my credentials before trying to drown me in bureaucracy. By your bearing and demeanor, I'd say you have extensive house trooper training. According to customs protocol, T forms numerically stop at 600. I'm not a mentat, not a trooper. I am a tradies.
I'll humor you if I must, but... Oh. I'm so sorry. Here is that shipment. Please accept it, and my apologies for wasting your time.
Well, that was quick. I feel like I should have just... Okay. Completed already? Huh. You're everything at this point? That's true. I just... My father will hear about this. Where was she? Here? My father will hear about this. Hello.
We meet again.
Here you go.
You have my thanks. It would be good to get on with the business of healing, rather than spinning in circles in a logistics and bureaucratic purgatory.
Imagine she was actually a threat, and I just cleared her. Hey, we should probably
Wait
ask her
again.
first who she is. Tell me about yourself.
What would you like to know?
What brought you to Arrakis?
After graduating the Souk Medical School, I served a noble on Kaitane. Soon thereafter, I had occasion to save his life.
Oh.
In his gratitude, he offered me anything in his power to grant. I asked to be given leave and a sizable stipend to start a clinic on Arrakis. These
So
people
you
have
chose this
suffered under
place.
a war of assassins for years. I wanted to give them a level of care not often afforded to the station. Unfortunately, after I arrived, I found no stipend waiting for me. I'm barely holding this clinic together with the money I do have.
Damn. So you got skamazed. Maybe that guy wasn't as indebted to you as you thought. You've gotten this far on your own, I think you'll do alright.
I do not know if you are correct, but I thank you all the same for saying so.
Are you a Souk doctor?
That is correct.
Tell me more about the Souk doctors.
After the Butlerian Jihad and centuries of calamity, the greatest researchers and doctors came together to form the Souk Inner School. In a cold universe, humanity needs protection and care. We were part of the push for greater human potential after the fall of the thinking machines.
Like the Bene Gesserit, the Souk doctors are an expression of human excellence.
Well said. While our skills are prized, our true value is in our imperial conditioning, which makes it impossible for us to betray our patrons or harm a human.
Huh. But they have the most they're the most capable, right? Because they would know how the human body works and where how to make it stop. Is Imperial conditioning truly absolute, or can it be broken? Imperial conditioning. While our skills are prized, our true value is in our Imperial conditioning, which makes it impossible for us to betray our patrons or harm a human.
I can say that Imperial conditioning is absolute, or as near an absolute as one can aspire. Breaking it would be nearly impossible and unprecedented.
Oh yeah, I was only asking about the audio check because I switched it back to the 44 audio thingy. So it's just Death Stranding that it needs to be in the 41 thingy setting. Nothing is impossible. Ominously thing.
If blackmail, torture, or threats to loved ones could subvert Imperial conditioning, every house would have done so to their enemies by now.
I suppose. I'd like to talk about something else.
Of course.
Nothing else. Goodbye. Well, that was quick. I guess we'll accept all the other quests. I'm getting distracted from something. Remind me to collect my payment from Grimm's base later. My payment for paying their taxes. Keeping this ship afloat. Who next? Maybe we shouldn't use our name to like bypass everything. A bouncer. Hey, see? All of these cost this much. So technically our first plastic surgery cost us nothing. 500 maybe. Temporary security at the Seleucid Bowl. Good pay, many benefits. People's skills required. Experience a bonus, no free drinks. Yeah, I'll take it. Ugo. Remember to raid Grimm's base. Grimm's friend's base, technically. Hey. Who are you?
Ever see someone melt?
Yeah.
Not metaphorically. Not tears. I mean, skin sliding, bones turning soft. No?
I look like
have a
I've
drink.
seen some things. Where? Who? Who do I need to speak to? What? Well, maybe upstairs. Oh, right, the fancier places upstairs. What's a more diplomatic way of saying you're rating someone?
Hello. May I help?
Contract. You're short a bouncer today.
Oh, thank the gods.
Thank
We
the
need all
gods.
the hands that we can get. Your first task is a trooper Ren. She is
Ren?
a young one, too eager to prove herself. Hitting the bottle harder than she should, eh? Clegg is already about to summon the Provost Guard, and you
Provost
know
Guard.
how they handle things. Get her out before she gets hauled off and ruined.
I'm on it.
Welcome to the chaos, stranger. Try not to lose your head.
Goodbye. Where? Downstairs? Wait. A bouncer for the Seleucid Bull, but they're making me go downstairs. This is my job. I do calls all day. Yeah, I have to do adult all day. That's horrible. Oh, it's you. Hello. The new hairstyle. Recovering the assets that are rightfully yours. That's... Yep. That's what it's called. Remind me to recover the assets that are rightfully mine.
You got something to say about Arrested too?
Out of state
Everyone's
too?
got an opinion tonight.
What's the problem here, trooper?
Nothing, sir, just had a bit too much to drink. Got a little worked up
Oh.
over some nonsense.
We serve something greater than ourselves, trooper. Losing control here tarnishes us all. This isn't about you, trooper. Screw up here and we all pay. Is this because we have the trooper training? Second repossession. Oh, repo! Repo 2.0! Losing control here tarnishes us all. Isn't about you. Screw up here and we all pay. I don't know. These kind of both are the same. We serve something greater than ourselves. Goodness, Latte, you're so cute. Oh, she's doing the little squinty eyes at me. Latte. 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 They're both the
You think
same.
it's easy to be the rookie always under a microscope?
The mantle of Atreides is heavy, but you must carry it with dignity, even when you think no one's watching. Fresh recruits are always exposed. Weakness shows, always. Easy being the rookie. I want to say this. But I want to say this too. It's like, girl, if it's too much for you, just resign first.
Don't you lecture me on dignity when I'm the one
Me
trying to
on
defend the
dignity.
Duchess's honor.
No shame in knowing when to quit, trooper. I advise you to call it a night. Enough. You're done here. You can walk out or get carried out. The choice is yours. I advise you to call it a night.
Maybe I screwed up. I'll head back before I make it worse.
Yeah, that's right. Go home. I guess I could... Could I have... I wonder if the other options would have started a fight. Unlikely. These quests seem really... Hey. These quests seem really, short. Do I talk to you?
Hello.
Hello.
May I help?
Trooper Wren has been handled.
Well done.
Well done.
Sergeant Clegg, he tells
How do you
me
do that?
one of our regulars, a proper sad look. He's in full collapse out there. Clegg is about to sedate him with a chair. Maybe get in there first.
Okay. Sedate him with a chair. Is it downstairs again? Jeepus. Is it you? Sir? No more drinks
again.
tonight. Common fallacy. Expression does not guarantee catharsis. Especially for unwilling audiences. Drown your sorrows quietly or drown them outside. Come, friend, it's time to leave. This is the friendlier option. Let's go.
I guess kindness ain't what it used to be. Once upon a time, folks listened.
One story, and then your feet find the door. Kindness hasn't vanished. I'm showing you some now. Have the grace to accept it and leave. Should we listen to his story? Yeah. Regale us with flesh melting.
Fair. One story. She was halfway through her vows when her mother started to sweat red. At first, we thought it was nerves or the heat, maybe. Then her skin started to melt.
You hear this?
Slow. Like candle wax dripping down a stick. And the worst part, she was still smiling. Oblivious. As if her face hadn't caught up with the rest of her.
Oh god, he's traumatized. What happened?
They said it was bad spice in the wine. The first case on record before it even had a name.
And your wife?
You know, you're the first to ever ask about her. Thank you for that.
We're listening.
She stayed for a while. Too long, maybe. We tried to hold on, but that moment at the wedding never left us. It just sat there, between us, rotting.
Sounds like you
She
guys
stopped
needed
speaking.
a therapist.
Stopped sleeping. One day she was just gone.
Fed herself to
Didn't
the
even know, just
desert.
a ring in the sink and a partially drunk bottle of spiced wine on the table.
The bottle of spiced wine?
The very same. Untouched since the day it turned her mother to pulp and our joy to ash. I made myself a promise. If I ever found someone kind enough to listen,
Wait.
tell the story one last time.
Wait.
Raise a glass to my almost mother-in-law
Wait.
and see if the wine forgives me.
Wait.
Beg you kindly.
Don't drink the wine. Let the ghosts rest. Bruh. Okay. Maybe we shouldn't have listened. How do we make sure he's okay? He's just gone.
Hello?
Why did they even keep the
help?
wine? The sad sack has been dealt with.
Very good. Now, Master Jim upstairs informs me Colonel Rain is back at it, conducting field operations from the bottom of a bottle.
He sounds drunk himself.
Please handle him. 4 drinks in, he's walking a table through the defense of Helios Gate. The poor
does
couple
that mean?
only ordered spritzers. Aye.
What? I didn't understand a word he said. Evict the officer upstairs at the solution bowl. Whomst? You? Oh gosh, your face. Hey, I know a woman
Evening, Sergeant.
downstairs.
Am I being redeployed to the gutter or just the curb?
It's been a long night. Time to stand down and return to quarters.
I'm the ranking officer here, soldier. If you've something to say, say it with respect. I've been in this uniform longer than you've been alive.
You've said your piece, sir. Let's leave it here for tonight. I won't ask you again. I think I will ask with my fist next time. So raspy.
No, I haven't. I've bled for this house, buried friends for
Yeah,
it.
you look like you did.
Now you think you can order me silent, like some resource steward with a clipboard?
Yeah. Watch someone whose clipboard outranks yours.
Oh, by all means, do fetch them. Maybe they'll pin a medal on me for caring more than they do. Or hell, have me shot for remembering the dead too loudly. Wouldn't be the first time loyalty got someone killed.
I'll take it to Mentat Howitt. Oh. Also, Mentat Howitt. It's the guy in the movies. The one in the beginning. I forgot that was his name. See if he finds your outburst strategic.
No need for that. Let Hawat keep his silence. I'll keep mine. Give my regards to command. If they
Yeah, that guy
still
loves
remember
me.
my name.
These quests are super quick. Hey,
Hello? May I help?
Colonel has been handled. Yep, that's his
And
name.
the peace is restored. You did good work, stranger.
And
Here is your pay.
it is your bed.
Stranger, Jim rarely hands out compliments. But here
Compliments.
you are not tonight. That means something.
He sounds drunk.
Keep your eyes open. There's always more work. And I would be glad to have you on board again.
Oh, great. What's that? Oh my god, it just dug into the stone. What? Compliments. Do I need to escort him out? Athar banquet. Help needed at House Athar. Okay. Is that here? In the bank. Yeah, we got paid. We have enough money for 2 surgeries. Boomst. Boomst? Is it you? No. Is it upstairs? It's upstairs. Sorry. Oh my god, I sunk him into the ground. Y'all see that? I'm just powerful, I guess. Let's go upstairs. I wonder what else they changed. What else they added. Can I sink you into the ground? Nope. I tried. To the major domo of House Athar. Oh, this is open now. Oh. Hello? Wow. What a snazzy place. So they just live here. And then our trooper trainer just like was squatting outside this place. Interesting. Hello. He looks
Hello and
fancy.
greetings. On behalf of the Atar
I see that rope.
household,
He's
I am
into
afraid
some.
we are not acquainted.
Oh.
Perhaps Sir would do me the courtesy of an introduction.
Have you served House Athar long?
Indeed, sir. Since childhood's hour, from a servant boy to major domo, I take great pleasure in my service. House Atar is a minor house, but a proud one. And, dare I say, on the rise.
I see. If you don't know what a major domo is, it's basically a butler or a head butler in charge of the other butlers. Butlers and maids in the house. I understand House Athar is contracting some help.
Sir's timing is impeccable. House Atar has interests in infrastructure and takes pride in restoring the damages done during the Battle of Arrakis. To celebrate this next phase in the project, House Atar is throwing a banquet of no small magnificence. However, we have run into complications. We are woefully short-staffed. Perhaps Sir can help in assessing some food crates, look into a tardy dress, and find some missing Caledonian brandy. If the state of affairs is not improved, the banquet will be a disaster. Such perceived incompetence would endanger our house's hard-won status.
We get to be a maid? Did we get a costume? I understand there's some food that needs inspecting. Oh. Are we poison testing?
The first requirement of any successful banquet is fine food. We cannot accept anything less than impeccable quality. Secondly, it must be safe. Nobles each take their own precautions in turn, but it is the host's solemn duty to check for excellence and for poison. We cannot abide our guests being assassinated, or worse, overwhelmed. We require you to make such an examination.
To use my talents. Just kidding, I can do it. I'll eat your poison food. Multiple crates with food destined for the banquet have just arrived. They need to be checked against our records. Honeyed nuts in whale milk? Whoa. Moonfish fillet? Snails in spice wine. What interesting cuisine. Honeyed nuts and whale milk. Got it. I'm not remembering those ID numbers though. Free food, yeah! This would be my dream job, just food tasting.
3 crates, in particular, need to be thoroughly examined.
Rich people
and
food, too.
background checked. Nothing must be
Nothing!
amiss.
Got
Not
it.
a speck of dust unaccounted for.
Jeez, his personality suddenly changed the moment we accepted the contract. He went from nice and hospitable to like super strict and demanding. Nothing! Got it, sir. Inventory check. Where? Inside? In... Where? Downstairs. Just jump off the balcony. There's no fall damage here. I see your true colors. Here? Why would you just leave it here? Carefully check crate. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Let's run our numbers. Oh, it's not here. Okay. I guess. Now we go back? How do you check them? These quests are just run here, talk to this person, and run back. I see. I see. I wonder if this is supposed to be for like the new players. And then for for the older players they're like, "Oh, yeah, you're a veteran. Just take your reward and go." Whoa, nice painting. Hello.
How may I be of service?
I've concluded my inspection of the food crates.
And your findings?
I found discrepancies. Actually, I don't know. I didn't try them. I'm gonna say I found discrepancies.
What discrepancies?
The contents of the ID of the third trade and non-matched records. This is...
Ah, yes. You noticed the broken seal and perhaps
Yeah, it was like
the
longer
subtle
than usual.
discrepancies between the shipping manifest and the contents of the crate. Sir will forgive me for examining the crates myself to better assess your quality. You are clearly a person of exquisite quality. Well done.
It's kind of creepy, but okay. I'm ready for my next task. Something about a dress.
Correct. The heiress
Hey!
of the house, Ariadne Attar, requires
Ariadne
an
Attar.
extraordinary garment. More than a dress.
Oh my god, his...
This is a matter of
What's
courtly
happening there?
etiquette.
Yeah. Alex, I'll see what I can do. The heiress of House Attar urgently needs her dress for the banquet. It is unlike the tailor to be so tardy. Check in with the heiress at the Seleucid Bull to find more. Find out more. Got it.
Speak to Ariadne. She can explain the particulars better than this humble servant.
Humble servant. Can I get in from here? No, I cannot. Hey. Is it her? No. Is it? Whoa. Why is it so smoky in here? Is it you? 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 Oh. Hello.
I don't know you. Are you selling something? This is a terrible time, just terrible. Come back another time, please.
Someone slept with the weight painting? What's that? What's that? What's that? What's that? Is Studying game dev? Ariadne Attar, your major domo, sent me to assist in the matter of a dress.
In that case, please stay. This is more than a matter of pretty fabrics. We are on the verge of disaster. Courtly maneuvers are more than mere frivolity. You see, it's not just a dress, but part of a grand tapestry of deadly pageantry. My family depends on everything being
She's
perfect.
her mouth.
I must do my part.
I like her
We've worked
voice.
hard to raise the status of our house. Showing up in, say, the same dress as Aristae Atreides would do real damage to that effort.
If only Aristae's voice actor was her. Because I don't like Aristae's voice actress. Didn't you have to do weight painting on your 3D model? I don't remember. That was a long time ago. I have no idea anything anymore. I'll remember if I make it again. If I make another one. Just like how I have no idea how I made this. And like I looked at Live 2D to see if I can fix this model's expressions. Because I can't frown. I can kind of frown, but it takes a lot. But when I opened the program, I was like, how does this work? How did I do this? So yeah, I don't remember anything. I cannot claim to fully understand your dilemma, but I am here to help. I understand your dilemma.
I did not give you leave to address me familiar.
Oh.
I am Lady Athar. Well, not yet, but I must practice bearing the weight of that title.
Got it.
However, your help is appreciated. I don't need you to understand my world, only to act and to get me that dress by whatever means necessary.
I have a complaint. I swear I chose the highborn background, but why are they treating me like I'm not? Did I make a mistake? Did the game designate me as Gutterborn? Because they keep calling me Gutterborn. It's hurting my feelings. As you say.
Go see my tailor. His tardiness is beyond bearing.
Add a reward
do
for
what you
slash
must
pout.
to produce the finest dress. And do hurry.
Do I pout? Is this pouting? What did she say? I didn't. Ah! I need to talk to her again. I don't remember what she said.
It is you again. I give you leave to speak.
Ma'am, I don't remember what you want me to do, but I'm gonna follow the the quest marker. No. Shush. Hey sir, I'm better than. Ma'am, put on a shirt. God, she's on something. Oh, they're praying. What's... They're going through something over there. Something's happening there. Whoa. All I know is that there's a dress, and someone gave her a dress that, like, Aristae's, maybe? Hello.
I'm afraid we have more business than we know what to do with at the moment. But how may I be of service?
Ariadne Athar is ready to throw a fit over her still missing dress.
Apologies to the heiress. My lateness is a wound to my professional heart. But I shan't paw you with it.
I shan't.
That said, there is a war.
A war.
Supplies and deliveries are often complicated or rendered utterly impossible, particularly with the more exotic materials.
Should I take a shortcut? You think these will make me have to actually go out and do something? With no legal ways to acquire the materials necessary, there remains only the less legal ones. I could not be seen dealing with such lowlives. My reputation is my most important asset. You, on the other hand, are not bound by such constraints. How do you know? There is a vendor down by the ornithopter pads. He is known to carry materials that are hard to come by these days. I feel like this will just save us a trip to running that way. Those exotic materials still reach Arrakis for those in power or in the know. Should we take a shortcut? Should we run all the way to the ornithopter pads? I feel like this might not give her the dress that she wants. Maybe the Mentat one? Accept contract? Sure, let's make it a little longer. Acquire materials. Run. Run, 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 run. It's just a dress. But she is of a minor house, so she kind of stressed about it. Hello? I can't speak. I have to go in here, sorry. Hi.
Hello again.
I need help with something.
If O'Gary can't make it happen, like as not, it's not meant to happen. Let's see what we can figure out.
His voice doesn't match his mouth. Anyway, I have a list of high-end tailoring materials that I need immediately.
Oh, that's so. And what's in it for old Finn if I happen to have these?
First vendor to supply me wins the favor of House Attar. Is their favor worth much?
It's a deal then.
Oh, I guess
I
it
have
is.
what you need. You just make
I
sure
guess
House
it is.
Ather knows how helpful I've been.
Got it. His voice, his accent doesn't match his model. Where is... Oh, we have to go back to the tailor. This is a lot of running back and forth. But this isn't the main quest. I still have to answer that... that SOS. Oh my goodness, those guys are dead.
Welcome back.
I have the materials you require to make the dress. Oh, what did it say? Package contains expensive fabrics and other materials needed to make high-quality formal dress. There we
That
go.
is welcome news. What did you find? Thank you. I shall have the dress made and delivered as soon as possible, if not sooner.
Water, guys, hydrate. We have so much money. Oh, if we accept the contract, we get the money. Oh, now we go up. Okay, so no shortcuts. We want money so we can keep changing our appearance. I'll do it for the aesthetics. It's our most important stat. I'm not looting, technically.
How may I be of service?
Sorted it all out. The dress will arrive on time.
Very good, very good. Miss Ariadne will be most pleased, and certainly more pleasant.
Hey, is that some sass about your mistress? Bye. Oh, we're done. Are we done? Are we done?
How may I be of service?
Oh, you mentioned something about Caledonian brandy.
Expertly remembered, sir.
Caledonian
The
brandy.
centerpiece of the banquet is a case of Caledonian brandy, imported at great cost to be gifted to Duke Leto himself. My master is confident this gesture will reap great rewards. More's the pity, as this precious gift has been held up in customs longer than is normal.
Customs,
we would be
darn it.
indebted to sir if you would find out the fate of the brandy and bring the crate to us forthwith.
Got it.
Very good.
Customs. What's holding up my brandy? Watch them be drinking it. Hello? Is it you? It is.
Ah, come back to hold up the line again, have we?
It's not. Oh, it's this. Read. It passed. Oh, it's here? A report. Fazook decided not to show up to work today again. I know he is your kin, but if we wish to remain a place where the noble houses store their valuables, we must have standards. Particularly disturbing are rumors I have heard that he has left his post as a guard for extended periods of time and was seen spending a surprising amount of money at a local Samuda den. I urge you, in the strongest possible terms, to talk to Fazook and get to the bottom of this. Start with that good-for-nothing Finn. If anyone knows where Fazook got his money from, it's him. Probably because he paid him. Hey, I'm back.
Hello again.
I have some questions about your business.
All right then. Ask your
This
questions.
guy. If you need it, we got it. But if you can't get it...
If we can't get it, it can't be got.
It can't be got.
Not a boast if it's true. Then it's just me sharing pertinent information. Idiot.
You call me an idiot? Here's some pertinent information. You're a child. Wait, I don't think this is part of the quest anymore. You're a child.
You're a child.
Wait. Huh? Complete it where? Huh? What? I'm lost. It got updated. No, it didn't. What? Well, instead of calling, I'd rather go up there and be like, hey dude. I don't think that had anything to do with it, did it? It's... what? So... we're just picking fights with people, I guess. Hey.
How may I be of service? Indeed, sir. Since House Atar.
I think I'm stuck. Contact issuer. It disappeared. This is very grave news. He's just right there. Very grave. There's not enough time to organize and ship a replacement, but I know the lowlife's greedy enough to attempt such a blatant robbery. That crate is still in Arrakis. Find it. Start by talking to the proprietor of this warehouse. Feel free to explain the consequences of crossing House Atar. We have ways of getting even. We were just talking to him, too. Now what? Talk to Finn? Hello? I had to track the same quest, but different. Interrogate the black market vendor. Got it. Let's try this again. This time with a knife up your butt.
Hello again.
Questions about your
All right,
business.
then. Ask your questions. War zones. Find the hottest sectors and learn the lay of the land.
It's not.
Monitor the community for sector. The locals will let you know where to look way before you stumble on.
Where do you go?
It's like asking a fisherman for directions to his secret spot. They'll never. Well, few have tried. My youngest, Sally, and her brother. That's where the salvage
read
is.
this already.
But at this point, it's more. We got Sally and Coda on perimeter. That Sally has a nose for finding fresh wrecks. I'd swear she shoots them down herself. Coda will gut you if you look at him wrong, so it's best not to look at him.
I've
Then you
heard
got
this
Bree,
before,
Phaedra, and Finn Jr. handling general salvage.
but I swear it was a
Junior's
different voice
laser ace
actor.
on the cut array, but Phaedra will give the Kirov a run for their money at stripping wrecks.
He just talks like a
Takes after
regular
Mother
man.
that way. Then there's me and the old lady. I oversee. If O'Gary can't make it happen,
it's this
like
one.
as not, it's not meant to happen. Let's see
Where's
what we can figure out.
Canadian Brandy?
What? What a specific and pointed question. What would make a body ask something like that?
A body? We can play coy, or you can realize angering an entire minor house is bad business.
Beg pardon?
Beg pardon. Deal with the scum who stole their property.
What? Oh, no. No, I'm afraid there's been a terrible misunderstanding. I want no part in angering a noble house. I didn't know.
Explain
A
yourself.
mysterious patron paid me a tidy sum to steal a case of expensive brandy from customs and replace it with fake Caledonian brandy. My instincts told me something was off, so I kept both cases, real and fake, hoping it would all blow over. I didn't know. I'm in over my head.
I'm in over my head. I can free you from all this. Let me take the fake stuff off your hands.
Here, take it. This crate has been like a curse I can't get rid of.
Now give me the real stuff and I'll square this all away from with House of
Deal.
Atar.
I don't want any trouble with a noble house.
Goodbye. We got the fake and the real? Hey, where's the real one? Where's the real one? Check the crate for tampering. What crate? What crate? What crate? What crate? What crate? Oh my goodness. Devs! Devs, what do I do? Can we summon a dev? At dev. Untrack again. Ah, it's appearing. Okay, it wasn't on my compass before, I swear. Where is it taking me though? It doesn't look to be upstairs, so maybe we go this way. This is where all the shady people are. The Warrens. I've been here. Did they change it? Oh. That person's still there. This is new. Oh no, this is not new. I've been here before. Hey. What's here? Oh. Where the heck? Oh, down here. Oh. Got it. Crate of Caledonian brandy. That's where he hid it. Gibbous. And now we're upstairs. Lovely. We went the long way around, actually. Straight to here. Hello.
How may I be of service?
I have 2 crates of Caledonian brandy, one real and one fake.
Begging sir,
We couldn't
pardon,
even-
but I do not follow.
We couldn't even decide to keep the real one for ourselves. Not that I would have kept it. I would have been honest and given them the real one. Someone paid a ne'er-do-well. Ne'er do well to steal the crate and swap it with a fake.
Yes, disturbing news. I'm inclined to suspect a rival of my master's. All the more reason to make this banquet perfect.
I'll give you both crates and let you sort it out. Why? I only have one. Oh, I have both. Never mind.
This may very well save the banquet.
Just be sure to
Sir
know
has demonstrated
which one's real and which
utter
one's fake.
competency at every turn. It has been a pleasure to work with you.
Goodbye. We have 35,000 Tolari. Next quest. Last quest. Journeyman? Completed. Is there anything new in the codex? We leveled up. Wow. No intel points though. What? Is there anything new with the codex? Nothing new. Wait, I thought I completed this. I thought I completed this already. Acquire the means of detecting poison. Okay. Bene Gesserit. Move along the wild threads of history, meet your destiny. My destiny? It's so romantic. We get to meet our destiny. Oh, wow. The Butlarian Jihad. Move along the wild threads of history, meet your destiny. Okay. So, I guess that's the same one. I swear I finished this too. I finished the codex. What do you mean I'm missing one? Where? 22 to 23. What? Maybe I haven't seen it yet. But there's new stuff in the codex. More things to complete. Let's go. I'm Captain Stein at the Seleucid Bull. Got it. I should have read it first before I accepted, because now I don't know. What's this about? Oh yeah, we did all of the quests for Mentat, where we have everything. We've completed everything. Wow, just in a corner all by yourself? Stand next to you so you don't look
the one
lonely.
answering our contract. I'll take it you're not with command. I don't like having to ask for help. But this isn't the sort of thing I can solve with a field op and a clean shot.
What's a sit rep? What's a sit rep? What are we dealing with? State the objective, Captain Stein. What resolution do you seek? Tell me the problem. Tell me the problem.
Where would you like me to begin? The blackmail? The spying? Or the part where I dragged someone I care about down with me?
Drama? Spill the tea. Just tell me who I have to shoot. You don't have to carry this alone. Just tell me what's going on. That's some personal drama. Or are we talking real trouble? I want to be nice about it, you know? Actually, hold on. I think a cat threw up. I'm gonna be right back and clean that up. So sorry to do this. I will be RB. would you take my ribbon? Why would you take my ribbon? I'm back. Gave them treats. Sometimes, okay, Conan has this habit. When she wants attention, she kind of knows how to get it. She's very manipulative, that one. Anyways, I'm back. Hello. Thank you. Sorry. I'm here. I swear. I promise. I'm here. Okay. Are we gonna do this? Are we gonna do this like this? Ribbonless? I feel naked. Okay. Where would you like me to begin? The blackmail, the spying, or the part where I dragged someone I care about down with me? You don't have to tell me your story. I'm sure the writers wrote this for a reason. Let's not be rude. Let's see what they have to say.
Funny thing about command, they don't train you to ask for help, just to make it through. But I could use someone who's not tangled up in all this.
Yeah, me. Who's blackmailing you and why?
A gutter rat with a recorder and a death wish. Why? Because love makes fools, and fools make leverage.
You protected someone you cared about. That's not foolish, that's human. But it ends now. No more humanity. I think they meant something else with that, but yeah.
The reel showed more than it should have. Off duty, just us. Me and Ineus. Talking like no one was listening. Then came the demands. We gave them scraps, thinking it would be the end of it. It wasn't. It never is.
Who's Ineus? How are you gonna trust someone named Ineus?
Senior Lieutenant, 69th Assault.
69?
Half of this
Nice.
mess. If you want the rest, talk to him. He's stationed in the residency courtyard.
Ooh, where's that? Oh, wait. See, we're friends. We're talking like we're friends. Speak to Lieutenant Ineus in the parade grounds. I know where that is. Apologize to all Ineuses right now. I'm sorry your name sounds like a condition of the belly button. I'm sorry your name sounds like something they would categorize belly buttons with. Will that suffice? Will that apology suffice? Yes. What if he looks... Do you have... Alright, that's not him. Is it you? It's you. Does he look like an Ineus? Eh.
You're the one Stein sent?
Stein.
All right. Let's get this over with.
You Ineus? I've got questions. About your anatomy. I'd find answers out here.
If you're looking for answers, you're in the wrong desert. But yeah, I'm Ineus.
Spare me the wounded pride, lover boy. Where's the tape? If this is how you treat backup, no wonder it's all gone sideways. Emotions noted. Irrelevant. Begin your report. I detect emotions. Irrelevant emotions. Didn't come for philosophy, just need the truth. And maybe a target. I don't want to use these. But this sounds way too aggressive. So does this. So I think this is like the nicest option out of them all.
You've marched in formation. I can tell by the way you scan for exits.
Oh.
Good. We'll only speak facts then, Trooper.
Just facts. Okay. I need some actionable intel, Lieutenant, if I'm going to track the snake to its lair. Names and location, Lieutenant. I'm not here to patch your conscience. I'm here to end this. That's right. I'm the badass you called in for backup. Mm. I feel like we'll get more answers out of this one.
You handle a las gun before?
No.
Or just polished boots in parade squares?
Wait. Ma'am? I'm trying to talk to someone here. Hello? Okay, she's gone. I've seen
You
action.
ever have to carry someone's tags in your mouth? Because both your hands were busy keeping your guts in.
Oh. Haggard Basin was a butcher's tent. Slavers, curabs, scavers? Same end, different smell. No. I've lived a pretty good life.
Haga?
Haga?
Then you've done your share of stacking bones.
Just tell me what I need to know. If I'm gonna help you in Stein, you need to know what happened. Yeah, give me the
Tell me
lore.
You ever make a call that felt small in the moment? Like a coin dropped in the dark, but you hear it echo for years.
Yeah, that's
It's
some good.
supposed to be simple. A few details, mostly troop reshuffles. Nothing strategic. Nothing lethal. Just enough to keep the bastards satisfied. That was the lie we told ourselves.
What did he have on you? I still don't know what's going on.
A recording of us. Me and Stein. Private. From before the deployment rotation.
I still don't see how.
We bled on the same sand. For God's forbid,
didn't
we drank
click.
from the same flask. Old habits die harder than troopers.
And the recording, I didn't click anything.
We got it somehow. Spliced it with deployment chatter. Made it look like we were leaking orders during a heat break. Not treason.
A heat break.
Not really. But close enough to kill our names. Stein wanted to
To
take it up the
splice,
chain.
they should know.
File it. Fight it. I talked her out of it. Said it'd vanish if we fed the fire
NPCs
small
here again.
and fast. That was my call.
I mean, pretty sure they'll have like mentats and stuff that can tell if a video has been spliced, right? But the fire didn't vanish.
Oh. It got hungry. Every cycle he wanted more. Targets, locations, even ration routes.
That was your
Started
mistake.
stonewalling. He started threatening. I think Stein still blames herself.
Let me kill him.
It was my rot that let it grow.
Where was the drop?
Chome exchange. You've seen it. Polished stone, shiny guards. All those idiots haggling over merch like it means something.
Is that the bank? Everyone knows the exchange.
Right, well, there's a tapestry on the back wall. Big thing. Gold thread, black backing. That ancient Chome seal. Half a coin, half a lie. Suits him.
What about it?
Behind
Get to the point.
low to the right. Wall seam hides a recess. Push in, you'll hear a click. That's the drop. Messages will pass there. Orders, confessions. I don't know. Maybe you'll see something there we overlooked.
If you ever get blackmailed, just come clean immediately. Especially if it's fake. Or spliced. Just be like, it's a lie. They're trying to my name, you know? You'd think that two seasoned... Oh, that umbrella looked really weird for a second. Two seasoned people would know this by now. Would know better. Is it here? Oh, they even made a... Investigate. Don't mind me. Bank tellers? Security? Meet me in the alley, bring the package. I got it. I'll bring your package. It's called copium. Oh. Sorry, I'm lost. Is it you? Oh, it's you. You look shady. In the red light and everything. What's up, buddy? I got a fist with your name on it.
Battle blood, boys. Harkonnen or Atreides. Either way, someone's pissing red in the sand by the end of the cycle.
End of the
Even
cycle.
odds the Count's already poisoned the Duke's stew or the Baron's wine. You want some action on the Duke? Or maybe you think the Baron's got the upper hand.
Betting? I'm not here for a bet, I'm here for information.
What the shit is this?
What the?
I'm all paid up with the sheriff.
Whoa!
You can't roust me, this is bullshit. I'm all paid up.
I want to talk about blackmail and I've heard you're an expert on the subject.
Look, mate, I don't know what they told you, but I run numbers. Fights, raids, sandworm odds, all clean. I'm just a humble oddsman.
Okay. Pretend to deliver something to the dead drop in the alley. This one? I feel like these quests need a little bit more work. You know? Kind of... Investigate the man in the corner. Extract a confession. I got a fist with your name on.
What do you want now?
You're sweating. That's good. It means the guild's still reachable. Incorrect. You are a mid-tier information broker operating without institutional backing. Oddsmen should know when the game is fixed. Lie to me and I'll let the desert judge you. Worm Court never needs a second hearing. I've seen Humble. Humble doesn't wear rings with sigils scratched off. Ooh. Or run 2 ledgers for the same house. I gotta go with Ben Jezra, you know?
Look, you got the wrong bookie. I run bets on thumper races, that's all.
Your eyes twitched before you lie, your pulse shifts on certain names. Shall we test it?
What name?
She looks
I don't know anyone
more
or
serious.
anything. Whatever you
This
heard
new
is
look.
wrong.
I kind of want the black hair back, but like, let's say Captain Stein, there. Did you feel that? That ripple in your chest? Shame is such an obedient muscle. I like that.
I don't know what you are talking about, I swear.
You're trembling. You're unraveling, Clax. And I haven't even tugged at the thread. Oh!
Okay.
He didn't even tell us his name, right?
Stein, Ineas, I had a wire on their meat. Quiet little warehouse in Sector 6. Laced it with a sugar wire lens. Real clean. They cracked easily, gave me scraps. I passed them to my handler.
Who's your handler?
Didn't think they'd fall for it, but they did. Lovers are always sloppy.
Lovers are always sloppy. Who controls you?
You think I know anything? I passed the reels. I kept my head down, and they tossed me coin like scraps to a dog in the street. I never even saw a handler's face. Just the drop boxes and a name that was probably fake. 10 years of running odds, and I thought I mattered. Thought I was clever. But I'm just... noise. A nobody.
You expect me to feel bad?
You think they'll even remember my name? No one bets on the pawn.
Wait. What? Man clenches his jaw and starts trembling. His lips sweat and twitching. He's dead even before he touches the ground. No witnesses. No witnesses. Oh, what's this? You killed him. Compromising material.
You call that a deployment beard? I've seen stubble with more ambition.
It's dignified. It says...
We're listening to the
"This
blackmail."
man doesn't have time for grooming. He's too busy surviving orbital drop assaults. And the cruel mockery of recon harpies.
Does his body just stay here?
Yourself, Orbital Dave. Word is you barely survived breakfast last week.
That ration bar was mislabeled. No man should face spice-flavored nutrient gel without warning.
I warned you. I said, don't eat that, Dave. It smells like formaldehyde and guilt.
His name's Dave.
You always do try to keep me alive, huh?
David.
Someone has to. Your unit's too proud to read the damn manual.
And yours won't admit they miss us when we're gone.
They'd riot if they knew I was slumming it with a 69th brute.
Say that again, but slowly.
Slumming it. Happy?
Ecstatic. We're lucky I like mean women.
You're lucky I like stubborn idiots.
10 years and still trading insults like cadets.
Yeah, 10 years.
You know, one day we won't have to sneak around like this.
One day. But not today.
Witnesses! Is that it? That's hardly incriminating. That's hardly incriminating. What? What? That doesn't sound like they're exchanging secrets. Man. These guys are soft. Just tell the truth. We were
Fine. The 33rd pulled off the north rotation 2 days early. That's all I'm giving.
Listen, C Company.
Okay,
had
this
two
is
squads
incriminating.
pulled for munitions resupply drills. No frontline redeployments. Say that back so I know you remember it exactly.
I'm not an idiot, Dave.
Didn't say you were. Just look, let's get it right.
C Company, 2 squads, munitions drill, no redeployments.
None worth mentioning anyway.
He'll want more soon.
He always wants more.
What happens when the rumors aren't enough? Huh? When he asks for troop strengths, command plans?
Those are just rumors.
Walk like we should have walked the first time.
You don't get to say that now.
I'm just trying to protect you.
I don't need protecting. I need a way out.
Then we stop now. No more.
And he leaks it all anyway.
Let him. Better ruined than rotted out from the inside.
We give him this one, and then we find someone who can make him disappear.
Like me! Oh my god, her face. She was like, ew. She was like, ugh. Hey.
You're back.
Blackmail trail ends here, and I have the Shiga wire to prove it. Here we go.
Oh, Spice, save us. You actually did it. Hand it over. Carefully. I've had enough ghosts whispering from
I could
rooms
just
to
delete
last
it.
a lifetime.
Not delete it. Destroy it. It's over. No one else needs to see this.
Copy, destroy, burn the rest. No trail,
But-
no questions. We're ghosts again.
But there's one last thing I need to discuss with you and Orbital Dave.
So you listen to the reels. I suppose I should be angry, but secrets don't stay secret on Arrakis.
My angle is keeping
What's
loyal
your angle?
soldiers in the fight, not hanging them out to dry. Let's bury it deep and move on. The spying dies here, but the two of you, maybe it's time to stop hiding. People might surprise you. It's not personal, but duty's duty, and Hawa will want to see this. Secrets like yours get soldiers killed. What about the guy? Like, he reports to someone, so... Honestly, this is what I said earlier. Like, I said this earlier, just come clean. I guess I'll say this.
Yeah, I figured it might come to this. We tried to be careful, to keep it outside the chain of command. But it got messy. Everything personal does, eventually. I won't beg, and I won't make excuses.
He probably already knows.
You're doing what you have to. For the house. Just don't think we ever meant harm. That wasn't the story we were trying to write. Tell Hawat what you have to. I'll be ready when the hammer falls.
Goodbye. Whoa. Is this him? Are you Ineus?
You again.
This planet rewired something in you. You must have some horror stories of your own. That's all for now.
Rewired? Maybe.
I want to see what he has
Or
to say.
just tuned to a different frequency. 6 months after the Battle of Arrakis, there was Windsack.
Windsack.
A little, nothing village in the Egg. You know, a bar, refinery, and a pleasure palace. A
Whoa.
holy trinity for a spice miner's town.
Huh?
Windsack was supposed to be neutral. Spice run in, trade, move on. We came through the South Arch under low banners. Half the unit peeled off for barter, local drink, romp in the hay. What we didn't know was that a Hawk escort got there before us.
Oh.
The shard wasn't ours. Didn't matter.
These
10
guys are
seconds
always
later, the
beefing.
whole village lit up. I watched a guild loader take a pulse round through the spine.
Jesus.
Watched him twitch out in front of the cantina.
Where was Stein?
5 paces ahead of me, dragging 2 greenhorns behind a spice cart, screaming orders they couldn't hear over the noise. We turned into a line fight. Streets too narrow to flank. Just 2 gangs of ragged ghosts trading fire from balconies, rooftops, and broken doorways. We were lucky we brought blades. When the smoke got thick, it went up close and personal.
That's when I come alive. I want to say this because it's true. The slow dance. I like this one though. So I'll say this.
Exactly. Nothing elegant about it. Just murder in slow motion. I hit a slick patch in a trench. Next thing I know, I'm on my back, staring up at a Hark sergeant mid-swing. Got my guard up just in time to keep my face.
Telling us a story. It's story time, guys. It is true because when they come up close, I like parry. I bring out my sword, not parry. What happened next?
Close shield draw. We both struck low, slow, watching the sparks trail. His edge caught my pauldron. Mine caught his thigh.
Nice.
He screamed, and then Stein was there, carving his side open before he could reset his stance.
To be young and in love, you seem well matched.
We held our ground for 3 hours. Didn't retreat, didn't break. Gurney ordered the fall back, but it was already too
3
late to
hour
extract
fight.
clean. So the call came. Blow the refinery. Create chaos. Make it look like the Hawks did it.
That's not honorable. The Duke approved of that?
I'm not sure he even knows. Stein sure didn't. First time I'd seen her hesitate in a fight. But she nodded, because we had no choice. And when it went loud. We left that village in flames, in silence, while Chaum filed claims against the wrong house. They called it a tactical victory. Funny. Nothing about it felt like winning.
Whoa. Whoever just laughed, just little banshee laugh. Okay. That's giving me ideas. Okay. You must have some horror stories of your. I feel like if it's gonna be the same story.
Battle of Arrakis. When the lines broke, it wasn't rifles keeping us
Oh,
alive.
different story.
It was blades and fists. Me and Stein got cut off near the old processing towers. No ammo, no backup. Just 20 meters of sand and steel between us, and
Right.
6 shielded Hawk Dragoons. Shock troops with those trench cleavers they love so much.
Shield or no, 612 is bad math. Dragoons? What's Dragoons? Is that the rifle? Hark Dragoons. No, that's something else. Wonder what that is. Shock troops with those trench cleavers of... Is that the guys with the big guns? That's meat grinder. Your shield doesn't do anything against those.
Exactly what I thought. Until Stein tapped her emitter, gave me that look, and drew steel. I remember the hum of a blade vibrating against the shield barrier. It sounded like a funeral bell.
I want to fight. I want to go out and fight some NPCs. How did you survive?
If you've done the slow dance, you know the smell of a shield bubble. The taste of your own sweat inside a helmet. We fought slow, careful. Under shields, it's not speed that wins, it's discipline. One mistake, and you're leaking the heat through your throat. I was keeping count, then I wasn't. At some point, you stop swinging for survival and start swinging for memory. Not for medals, not for orders. Just so someone remembers you stood your ground.
Damn, that's strong. What about you, Stein?
You're back.
Nothing. Okay. We go decide what to do about the affair. What are my options? Not that. This one. How do I make a decision? Game? I'm going to Howlett. And then I'm gonna tell him that they should be forgiven because kindness and friendship will win this war. Wow, even I couldn't say that with a straight face. We'll win this war with the power of friendship. Howlett, I've got a report to file. He does not look like what he looks like in the movies. Burning small villages and breaking Harkonnen will win this war. Agreed! You know, I can't even talk to him.
I expected you.
A word.
Sorry. Occupational hazard.
Master Howlett, if I may speak freely, he doesn't look like how he looks in the movie, which is fine, but like...
Very well. Say what must be said, cleanly.
I must report an incident involving Captain Stein and Lieutenant Ineus. I say this with a heavy heart. I bring damning intelligence concerning two of our own. I feel like this. Heavy heart. That might soften the blow, and then he'll be like, I already know. It's already part of my calculations that those two would do this, and that you would come to me with this information. I say this with heavy heart.
The disciplinary spat between the 33rd and the 69th. Save it for the provost. If it's treason, speak plainly.
It's not treason the way you're thinking, sir. They were cornered, but it's treason nonetheless.
Presuming to know my thoughts is a dangerous gamble. Save your assumptions. Speak only what you know.
Someone used what they care about to squeeze them. I don't excuse it, but I don't think they meant harm.
Intentions matter little when the fate of the house is at stake.
Intentions matter little.
Exposure?
Nothing strategic, no ops, no names, just talk. Timings for resupply, weapons check, that's all.
What you considered trivial, a Mentat sees as predictive modeling fuel. There is no such thing as harmless intelligence, not to a patient adversary. Today, it's resupply timetables. Tomorrow, it's troop disposition.
What are your orders, sir?
Extract every detail. I want the blackmailer located, and I want them speaking before they die.
Well, they
The
did
poison
that.
truth is a quantifiable vector in Harkonnen covert operations. Statistical analysis shows a near-perfect correlation between failure and fatality.
I didn't click it, but it went automatically on its own. But now, Master Hallett, what are your orders?
The Harkonnen tick has not yet burrowed deep. No valuable intelligence lost so far. But its presence is a warning.
Harkonnens are
threats
behind
may
us.
already be at work.
I bet
We
it's
must mobilize our
Alara.
counterintelligence assets to uncover what else lies hidden before the poison spreads further.
And Ineus and Stein? What happens to them?
Ineas and Stein, compromised by blackmail, yes. But now the blackmailer is dead. The question is, will they continue to serve House Atreides?
So the choice is
Or have
theirs?
they forfeited that right?
Next.
You are dismissed.
That's it? Do I tell them? Like, hey y'all, it's up to you. He didn't care. He said your blackmailer's dead. Y'all just gotta be careful now. Nothing? No? Just... Okay. It just ends like that? Hey devs, I'd like a word. I'd like a word. We just... These quests have just been like, here's the drama, blah 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 blah. The drama happening in Arrakis. Hey y'all.
You're back.
I did what had to be done, the rules matter even here.
Said the sanctimonious bastard. You know you weaponized what we told you, what we trusted you with.
I didn't!
You think Thufir didn't already know? Now it's official. And it's on our record.
Okay. Why are you mad at me? You're angry, fine, but your record's not the only thing that matters here. You're still standing, that counts.
You think survival's a win. I did too. Till I had to choose between
She's
love
mad at
and
me.
loyalty, and ended up losing both.
Why'd you lose both? I'm sorry, but it was bigger than just the two of you. Next time, keep it in your pants, Captain. It's that simple. It was a negative. I'm sorry, but it was bigger than just the two of you.
You didn't just end something between us. You ended the only part of this war that ever felt like peace. Don't matter, though. I'm already packed for reassignment. Somewhere quiet, where screw-ups disappear politely.
Are they getting assigned separately now? She's, you know, at least you're not in jail. Like, Ari.
You're back.
Hey.
You again.
He's mad. Well, what was my other option? I didn't have any other choice. Like... I mean... Sorry. I filed with Howlett, full report, names, timelines, the dead drop. He knows everything.
That's it then. You just... You didn't even ask what we were trying to protect.
I knew what you were trying to protect. I didn't have to. You were protecting yourselves. That ends now. You gambled with the reputation of House Atreides. Pick your poison. Mentat, your operational failure posed unacceptable risk. Hoover Howlett now owns your secret. This one is what I preferred. It's less of a blow, I think.
Fine. Just make sure you stay clean. It's a long way down when the knife turns.
Sorry. I mean... Yep. I got 2 negative relationship scores, I guess. Well... That's that. Oh my god, she is grimacing. Did I fix her face again? At least she's not pale. How may I be of assistance?
Welcome. Would you like to deposit or withdraw Solaris?
With the
How
Solaris.
much Solaris would you like to deposit?
Yay. Man, I feel like I should feel bad, but like... I kind of feel like that should have ended differently. You know, like... Okay, let's go. I'm still considering if I should change my hair color. It's like a close pink, pinkish brownish. Jibbish. Jibbish. Time to go raid Grimm's friend's base. Pink would go well with the purple. I'm gonna go grab the money and then come back to deposit it, and then we'll see. We have to do the quest to at least start it. I feel like we got a lot done. What if that was like all of it, you know? That was all of episode 2. Come back in 3 months when we update the story again. No, something about the Haga Basin. Should we do that with pink hair? I have time. Bop, ba-da, bop, bop. Ba-da, bop, 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 bop. Man, that couple. So they're gonna be reassigned and then separated, right? Probably. It's for the best. You guys make mistakes when you're in love. You signed up for this, too. I just guaranteed 2 new deserters. I'll see them in the sands. Oh. It's nighttime. I think I left at night and then I came back at night. That looks different. That wasn't there before. Or was it? Where did I come in from? I usually come in from here. Well, I made a mistake. I thought I was going... What is that? Is that the story? What is that? Wow. Objective. What? Huh. Wow. There's things to do. That I may or may not have forgotten about. But it's fine. We'll do them today. I promise. I promise. Da. This is somebody's base, but it's not powered up. Imagine this is a trap, and I go in here, and then they put up shields and I can't get out. Oops, sorry. I know how to park. I'm just touring your base. It's cool looking. They're Harkonnen. So cool. Oh wait, it is powered up. Huh. Interesting. I love the silhouette. Whoa. They have a courtyard and everything. Ooh. Ooh. That's a carrier. They have a carrier in there. That's cool. I haven't been to this. Interesting. Have you memorized every rock and stone? No. A little bit. Kind of. I've flown these skies before. I know where everything is. I need to get aloe seeds? No, some kind of seeds. I'm here. Tax collector. I'm here. Tax collector. Yoink. I gotta this stream is proof. If they want proof, I'll just direct them to the stream. Let's do one more check. The LE tax. Yeah. It's the LE tax. I'm here to make sure that your base is running. Whoa. Whoa. Ah. Shoot. I don't have anything. I don't have anything on me. I don't think they have anything on them either. Only 500 grand. Okay. So the deal was, I don't know if this was the deal or not, but the deal was I pay their taxes and then they give me money for it. But I think Grim also added in to give them 10 days of power. I think I do that part as a courtesy, so that their base doesn't take environmental damage. But I don't have anything on me right now, so I'm gonna go back to my base, get some stuff, and bring it back. Oh shit. Oh shoot. And then I'll deposit the money in Arrakis, change my hair color, see if we like pink. Maybe we should go to Harko and do Harko quests. Ooh. Could always deposit it in Harko Village. Harko, the hacking propaganda town. You will blah 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 blah. Harko, Harko, Harko. I don't even know what they say. Look at those Harkonnen in the left side. Man. They weren't born, they were grown in sludge tanks. This is not usually where they spawn me, is it? Like, those are familiar. That's not familiar. These are familiar. I know these. I know these hills. I know these rocks. That's not familiar either. Okay. Let's get some fuel. I'm not sure where I keep my fuel, so this might take a while. Looking bald as ever. Then did this bit, and I can't find anything ever anymore. I used to have a system. Now everything is just everywhere. Speaking of bald, no! No bald toggle. Ah! Thank you! It's me again. Aha! Here we go. I'll take 200. 200. Right? That's good, right? I'll take 300 because I'm nice. Oh, the lance rad. What did we get last time? What did we get last time? Ooh. Oh wait, I don't think I can tome production contract. I don't think we can do anything because we didn't participate last week. Was not online. I brought 300, but I think they need more. They need the other thing. They need this one. I can make this. Max, let's make 200. What? Nope. Nope. Where's my 0? There it is. This'll do for now. And then what? And then we go. Do we go? Do we wait for that to finish or do we go? Whoa. What was that? Whoa. I want to go... Okay. While that's cooking, we'll go back to... I'm like seeing so many things. We'll go back to Arrakis, deposit the money, change her hair to pink. Change your hair to pink, and then what? And then what? And then... Oh yeah, we do the quests. We still need to hear from Aristay about... What's his face? Centaura. Though I assume that the Benetililacs need a longer time to clone someone. Assuming that's the direction they're taking this. Right? Right. That better be the direction they're taking this. Give me back my husband! Aristay's special friend. I'm trying to remember her name. The one Fragile's face model person. She played the Bene Gesserit lady that conceives Fade Rotha's heir or progeny or whatever. Trying to remember her name. I don't remember it. Oh well. I'll look it up later. I wonder if she's in this game. Because Chani and Stilgar are mentioned in the codex. I don't know if Chani is. But Kynes... Leia Sado. Her. That's the actress, right? But Kynes was in the movie. You know the one that traveled with them on the ornithopters to oversee the spice harvest and look at the ornithopters right before it crashed? That was Kynes. And Kynes' child is Chani. That was her significance. That was her mom. Where are we going? Dropping off money into the bank. Would you like to deposit?
Welcome. Would you like to deposit or withdraw,
I just got
Solaris?
that back! There you go.
How much Solaris would...
I've forgotten almost everything about the movies. Okay, it started with Paul on Caladan. Let's get our pink hair. This hair color didn't last that long. I want it to last a week. We'll do pink hair, and then
we meet again.
The ribbonless Ellie is cute. I feel naked. Hair color. This one or this one? This one. I kind of want to make her mouth not as wide. Just by one finish. She still looks miserable. It's like, ugh. What are you doing to me? Yay! It does look good with the purple. Right? That one's nice. It looks good with the purple. Oh, this wasn't here before. Where are you looking? She's like side-eyeing something. Okay. Oh. How do I change my... There we go. Actually, I kind of got used to it like this now. I have a lot of fuel to take to Grimspace. And then we're gonna go south and start the quest at least. Ugh. Can I bear to not touch this for the rest of the week? Cause today is Wednesday. I don't stream on Thursday, Friday. But maybe I should. Let's not rush. Let's not rush it so that when I do finish it, I'm not like, it's gonna take forever for the next update. Fine. It's so easy for me to convince myself. So easy to convince. Is this another person, you think? I need to go here. That wasn't a real person. We'll just start the quest. We'll we will put fuel into Grimspace so it doesn't power down. And then we'll start the quest. Yeah. I'll leave the access too, because I took 300 of the big fuel. I don't know if his stuff needs that. I think he has more of the smaller things than the other thing. The base is... Oh, base is this way. Guess this is like the closest? Hi Ben, how are you? What you up to? Let's see. Oh, the thing is down here. Does he even have... Do they even have the big ones? I wonder if this will even do anything. Refuel. They don't have the big ones. Are you kidding me? Excuse me? Am I delusional? Am I delusional? Eating, starting to take lunches later so that I can be here for the tail end of stream if Jaku wanted relief at some point. Thank you, that's considerate of you. I could have sworn I put in stuff here. What's happening? Did I not? Do I have access to this? I don't have access to this. Did I not bring a bunch of fuel? I'm here because I want to. You're here because I force you to be here. Everyone's here against their will. I'm gonna go back to the base and see what's going on. Did I take the fuel? I could have sworn I took 300. Maybe I'm delusional. Maybe I'm... It's the heat. The heat's getting to me. Ah! Everybody hydrate. Ah! This is a person. You're a person, right? You're a person, right? No, they weren't. I was lied to. Oh, hydrate. I actually finished my drink. I need to get my water on the ground. Yum. Thank you for the hydrate. You have to hydrate with me. I'm gonna try to cook fried chicken today. In the air fryer. Whoa. Someone's base is just like right there. I have to go back and forth to Grimm's base. Oh my gosh, my fuel. I was able to refuel midair. Isn't that convenient? Chicken sounds good. Yeah, I think it's thawed enough too. You're gonna make the most impeccable chicken today. Ven deserves only the best. I'm gonna eat it all before Ven gets here, just to spite you. I'm kidding, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. Okay, so there's this. 200. That should be plenty. But I think they have a lot of the small wind turbines, those things. I brought 300 and there was 150 inside one of the big ones and then 150 in the other. So I think they need a bunch of like the small ones. So I'm gonna go, whoa. This thing looks crazy. Oh no, our wheels! Our wheels are struggling. No chicken for Ven unless you return the ribbon. Yeah! Compromise. Give me back my ribbon. This is far away enough, right? $700 fuel cells. 750 fuel cells. From just one. That's crazy. I think there's one this way. Maybe one that way. I don't know which one's closer. I wish they had this. Ooh, there's one right there. Hey, our neighbor's base is looking kind of empty. Did they give up too? Whoops. Wow. You get so many. I think that's more than enough. Thank you for my ribbon back. Ugh. You really wanted that fried chicken, huh? I'll get you the fried chicken. Okay, so the base, it could be better, honestly. But listen, it'll get there. Wow, impeccable parking job. Let me like this. That actually gave me motion sickness. How do I get out? There we go. In inventory. Whoa. Oh, I can't carry all of it. That scared me. I can't carry all of it. This'll have to do. Sorry, Grim. I don't want to take my... I don't want to have to take my... assault over there. Oh, maybe I should though, so you guys can see the flight. My assault's in worse shape than the other one. Okay. Listen. I folded so fast. It's gonna be my first time trying to make fried chicken. I usually make like wings. Not that. What? I usually make wings, but not like the full fried chicken. I have drumsticks thawed. I'm gonna make that. Not sure what seasonings I'll put on it yet. I have a lot though. This. And then whatever else has been open sesame. Whatever else in here. What? How do I get it? One more? Yoink. Okay. This is worth the 50k they give me, right? They give me 50k, but I give them fuel and pay their taxes with their money. And then I keep the rest. Right. Right. This is just a courtesy. Oh, I don't have fuel. That's right. This massive... heavy ship. It's a good deal, but they pay too much. No, 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 no. My services demand such... such a price. Such a price. No, 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 no. If they don't want to pay, they log on. They log in and play the game. I did recommend that they put their stuff away. At least their valuables, and put their money in the bank. Cause that's what it's there for. But but they didn't. They haven't. And as long as they haven't, they said that I could keep doing it for them. Are we able to power his base? I am. Yeah. Because Casey gave me access to their base. Not the full access, so I can't build anything, even though I want to like claim a room, and they said that I could claim a room, but right now I can just use their facilities and access their items and pay their taxes and all that stuff. But yeah. It's just errands today, huh? I should probably get to the story. We're the electric company. So we have to overcharge. Yeah. I'm the tax collector. They're paying for a service. It's this way. So that's why my wings are bad. I clip everything in my path. Is that a storm? It's a good thing I'm right here. It's a storm brewing. Wah! Wow, I made it. Skinny. I just have to pay, not pay, I just have to... What's that? I just have to access this. This is such an odd position, because there's like no way to get over there from here. I'm not judging. Alright. Alright. Make note of any changes, because I have stuff. Oh wait, no, it's not. I don't have stuff. It's in my ship. Calculated? I'm just gonna put it in a chest. I'm gonna put it here. Source? Salt. I'm gonna put it here. These are all my donations. My contribution. They kind of changed that layout too. Okay. There needs to be a change, otherwise something's wrong. Ready? 3, 2, 1. 2 days? I don't understand. Why? What? 100 more. Is this... I don't get it. 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 Something's wrong. Or I'm just dumb. Do they just need that much more? It used it all up. Does their base need more to function now? I didn't bring any of these, but this is mine. Was mine. It's disabled. Why would you disable your generators? Why would you disable your generators, you silly, silly people? Where are your other generators? How much is it now? 9 days. I mean, that's as close as... Okay. But why is it this? Why is it this? I'm confusion. Whatever. I have proof that I gave them power. That I powered up their stuff and that I paid their taxes and then I took payment. But 9 days. I need to look. Do they have other ones? He's not using any power. He's not, so it should last longer than 9 days, because ours is lasting like 31 days. But like, this is where I know his stuff is. His generators. I'm not sure where else it could be. If there's other ones that are probably turned off. I need to tell I need to tell Grim that in order for them to generate power, their generator has to actually be on. Like, I know I told them to turn everything off, but I didn't mean I didn't mean turn off their generators too. I have to go find. Is that it? Surely there's more. Computer delete Grim. Computer delete the captain. It's not down here. Ah! Let me in! Wonder if they did something silly like building all their wind turbines inside the building. I don't know if that makes a difference, but... Okay, everything's turned off according to the thing. So... yeah. Why do they have these? These ones were not mine. I didn't bring any of this, so that's not mine. Right, okay, whatever. This is not a problem for stream. This is a problem for HR. This is fine, right? Right, 9 days. I brought them enough fuel for 9 days. These are working now. This is turned on. Yep. Those are running. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. We're gonna go home. We're gonna go home, get on our other ship. Maybe repair our other ship before we take off. And start this quest. Look for a sign in Haga Basin Settlement. An unexpected visitor. I wonder who it is. Da-da-da. Bonk. Well, let me press that button now. What? What button is that? This one. There we go. Button has been pressed. Is there drops for Dune? I wonder if it counts. Do I get the drops if I'm streaming Dune? If it tells me that I need 9 hours, I'm streaming for not. Just kidding. I think the building pieces just ended. Darn. Supposedly there's gonna be another free weekend starting tomorrow, and you can play with your friends. And then there's gonna be a 20% off sale on the game too. So if you know anyone who wants to play, starting tomorrow to the 15th, I think, it'll be free. And then what? And then and then you can play with us on our servers. Let me know. Let me know. Teehee. Might be fun. Tomorrow. Oh my gosh. I can't even sing a song with the word today without saying it that way. I keep getting quips. What is it called? Like little voice lines stuck in my head. Like in BT, not BT, in Death Stranding, I keep wanting to say, hello, monsters, to the BTs there. And then for Grim just now, I wanted to be like, tax collector, though I think I did do that. I have a lot of clips that are stuck in my head that I keep wanting to say. Hello, housekeeping. Yeah, stuff like that. It's just in my head. And it itches until I say it. I need fuel. Let's grab some fuel. This will do. And then I think I need to heal because I landed wrong. All the way down here. I only did that because of Death Stranding. I don't think we need to repair our ship. I think our ship's fine. That didn't sound fine, but... Ascend! Time to clip Ellie's version of Tomorrow. I don't even know what the originals sound like. You'll have to send me a clip later. Altitude's at 680 meters. Going at 170 kilometers per hour. Sky is clear. Traffic clear. We are southbound towards this settlement to answer a distress call. 3 hours later. Aren't you glad you contacted us? I need to refuel midair. Lovely. Oh yeah, you guys can't see my fuel gauge. Settlement this way, I think. Nope. This way. Ascending once more to 700 meters. Our temperature is like super hot. There? Is this new? Has this always been here? Whoa, someone built a base there. That's not a base. That is a crash. Are those flares? It's a wreck. No one's here, right? Right? No one's here. No one's here, right? I'm trying to like make it so that my ship is hidden. Nope, it's unsheltered. This is sheltered. That's not sheltered. What's happening? Are you okay? Okay, it's okay. Shields up. Whoops. I'm answering a distress call. Nobody attack me, please. If someone kills me, it's fine. I don't have anything valuable. Hey. Is it you? Is it... Hello? Is it you? Oh, it's green. It's not PvP. PvP is getting stressed. Any sky halludes? Not yet.
Not another step, stranger. I've got 2 armsmen covering you from the rocks. Identify yourself.
There's no rocks in here. What's going on here?
I'm the one asking the question, stranger.
Stranger.
Who the hell are you?
I heard your distress call and came to help. I saw the wreckage and wanted to help. I saw the wreckage and wanted to get in on the goods. I heard your distress call.
You do
3
look
hours
like
ago.
You can handle yourself, stranger. Very well. The crew of the
I thought we were gonna be in a
thanks you for your
PvP zone. This is the quest. I think we can afford to ask some questions. What's happening here, Lieutenant?
We got shot down is what's happened. And now we're surrounded by Badlands scum. One scouting report says it's slavers, and the next says Kirab.
Yeah,
honestly,
sounds
I don't
about
care
right.
which it is. Their lives were forfeit as soon as they took a shot at a warranted guild extractor.
Guild extractor? What can I do to help?
Our comms unit took a stray bullet. My priority is to get it back online. Why don't you find our rig chief Hanzo?
Hanzo!
For you.
Hanzo from Overwatch? Tell me about Rig Chief Hanzo.
Well, a harvester crew is divided into 3 complements. Carriers, drivers, and spice crew. Carriers fly us where we need to go and provide air support when we get there. Once the harvester is on the sand, the drivers drive it, and the spice crew works the extraction.
We need a
Chief
whole
Hanzo
crew.
is the big dog on the spice crew.
Tell me about yourself.
All you need to know is I'm the sole surviving officer of Harvester AD-242. My sworn duty is to ensure anyone left in my crew gets home in one piece. If you want to know anything more than that, you'll have to wait until after. You can find me at the Seleucid Bull. The first round's on me.
Oh, okay. I'll take you up on that. Is your comms unit back online?
No.
No.
It's one of those new Chom models with the Amaranthian diodes.
Amaranthian
Farther range than any other
diodes.
portable, but don't drop it or jostle it vigorously. Shooting it is also not recommended, as it turns out.
What can I do to help?
Get us back on the air. If the guild has an inbound recovery crew,
They want your
they'll
flower
need a clear
sand.
tactical
We have
picture to avoid
crates
suffering
and
the
crates
same
of them
fate
in
as the
base. How can we do that if your comms unit is shot?
I think I can assemble a shortwave transmitter using a dead comms box and a few special parts from the Mithra's stores. If you can find them.
I'll find them.
That's the problem.
Oh.
The Mithra came down hard. Parts scattered across the sector. Now we're getting reports of Kirab bands creeping around the perimeter. Our scouts have seen them out there stripping the wreckage. But we aren't Sardaukar. If the
Sardaukar.
Kirab have our parts, we can't just take them back.
I can.
Thank the Emperor for your coming, stranger. I need
Stranger.
a blue lattice Skynet crystal, a Torsen sound shifter, and a twin polarity microfram. My scouts
Yeah.
report that the Kirab have made camps in the surrounding rocks. Seek and destroy, stranger.
I'm called Stranger now. Just give me a list. I can jury-rig a shortwave transmitter using our dead comms box and a few special parts from the Mithra stores. Unfortunately, those stores are scattered all over the sector. Got it, got it, got it, got it.
Good luck. Here is a list of what I need.
Goodbye. I'll be back. As long as the map can tell me where to go, I got you. Jeez. Okay, so this is not a PvP zone. That's Kirab. Where do I need to go? This way. Did I not see that earlier? I swear I was looking that direction and I didn't see it. What? This way, this way. Let's get him from above. Ooh. That's a lot of bodies. Ugh. That's a lot of bodies. Was that spice? Is that a spice blow? I've gotten so brave in the sands now.
Reveal yourself.
Wait. I got. Hey, can you take off your shield, stranger? Okay. Come on. Hello? I wish the binoculars had more functionality, like uncover hidden things. Yeah, I wish it had like a scanner function, you know? Like it'll show you where the treasure is in the map, right? Where's the next one? I think I just have to go to all of these things.
There's someone here.
No one's here.
Eyes on target.
Cope. Are these their people? What do I need to pick up? What am I picking up? In here? Ah! Ah! That's a worm. In the distance. Don't get up! I insist. Worms everywhere. Always become useless item in most games. I used it a lot when I first started playing, yeah, but I wish it had more functionality. Like if you're gonna give it to me and make me craft it, I expect to use it frequently. Otherwise, it's just filler. In some games, they mark the enemies so you can see them through walls. Ooh, I forgot about sunstroke. Y'all. We've had it good for so long. I didn't miss, guys. I actually didn't take that shot. Wow, I didn't miss a single shot. Teehee. There's no sun in Death Stranding. There's just a bunch of rain. You'll have that problem here. I'm back. These guys must be really incompetent if they couldn't even take out those guys. Oh, just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Hey, who are you?
You're back.
I'm back.
Did you recover the parts I require?
The crowd didn't want to part with them, but here they are.
Let me see.
I wouldn't
Very
know
good,
that. I
stranger.
just killed them.
You will do well.
Now that you've rebuilt the comms unit, are we online?
No.
We,
We've only
royal
succeeded
we.
at generating a shortwave signal that doesn't even clear these rocks. We need to boost the signal if we want to contact the recovery crew.
How do we do that?
We deployed a relay beacon at a high point in the rocks, but it's not responding. And neither is the tech crew I sent up there to check on it.
Your people are
If you
dead,
can find your way
likely.
up there and repair the beacon,
Fight
I
my
can
way
boost
up
our comm
there.
signal to reach most of the sector.
I'm on it.
Best of luck, stranger.
Who are you?
Oh, you startled me, stranger. Guess I was lost in thought. Or some kind of delayed onset
We're not
head
Outlander anymore.
trauma. Of course, both things could be true.
Centaura called us Outlander. Who are you?
I'm Nasher Hicks, quartermaster of the Mithra. Whatever's left of it, anyway. You can call me Hicks.
Looks like you need some help, Hicks.
Did the guild send you?
I heard your distress call and I'm here to help.
Well, this goes
Quests.
against all known protocols, but protocols be damned. There are lives on the line.
Who shot you down?
No clue. Danvers, our umbilical specialist,
Umbilical
said we were taking fire from
specialist.
below. But the rig crew is totally blind during transpo. An Intrepid class harvester has 7 interior decks, none of them with viewports. But they must have took out the carryall, because we dropped from the sky like our chute was cut. I was on the head when we hit. The bulkhead torqued, and the door wouldn't open. Had to cut my way out of the shitter in total darkness.
Did anyone see who was shooting at you?
Talk to Lieutenant Drang.
It was an inside job.
To survive. If anyone knows more, it's her.
What are you doing here?
The medic is dead. I've been doing what I can for the wounded, which isn't much. The lucky ones got out with some broken bones or fuel burns. The unlucky ones got caught when the coolant flow ruptured. Flash froze the poor bastards where they stood. Till we hit the surface, that is. Then, the sudden and massive transfer of kinetic downforce caused their bodies to explode into a billion frozen meat particles.
Ew.
You ever see red snow? It's a horror you won't soon forget.
So don't get flash frozen. As you're crashing down. Okay, yeah. Tell me about yourself, Hicks.
That's a tale of tragedy and woe. My family's been miners' guild since the late 9000s. Supply management on mother's side, rig technical on father's.
Are they still with the guild?
Sadly, no. They're with the Almighty now, stranger. We lost all but my brother and 2 cousins when the damn Harkonnens destroyed the
Harkonnens.
depot.
So it's just you, your brother, and 2 cousins? Don't drink skin-melting wine and don't get flash frozen. All of the woes of Arrakis.
It was for a few good years, but they all died when Carthag was obliterated. Now it's just me.
That was indeed a tragedy. A tale of tragedy and woe.
Yeah, but everyone in the guild lost kin at Winsack and Carthag.
Winsack?
We're bound together by our pain.
That's the thing the guy was talking about.
All we could do was become each other's family. I suspect it's the same for every rig. The crew of the Mithra looks out for its own.
Family. Is there anything I can do to help?
I'll tell you what, stranger, we need all the help we can get. We're dying out here. The whole medbay side of the harvester sheared off.
Jeez.
We need to stabilize as many wounded as possible. But we've already burned
I have a lot of bandages.
First aid we scavenged. If you could scrounge up something, that would be a good start.
Between the crash and the bandits, most of our people were injured in some way, but we've already burned through the medical supplies we were able to scavenge. If you could scrounge up something, I have a lot. I have a lot of bandages you can have. You can have all of it, actually. They're kind of everywhere. Deliver heal kit 10. I got 20.
Out here. How are those heal kits coming along?
Here you go. Take it all. Ah, shoot.
Finally, some good news. I've got Tolverson and Chang holding their guts in with dirty blankets. You are a lifesaver, stranger.
I don't know if bandages are gonna help with intestines coming out of you. Here's all of it.
The crew of the Mithra is in your debt. A few of
Don't put on your thumb. I have so many bandages. Anything else?
To your efforts, stranger, we're stabilizing the remaining wounded. Now,
there's a lot of
our
quests
priority
here.
turns to operational security. We took up a collection of personal sidearms to equip the scouts.
Oh, they want
The rest
weapons
of us
now.
are dangerously exposed out here.
What do you want?
Stranger. Be careful.
I didn't click anything. Oh, 4 Mala pistols. Yeah, okay, I can go home and craft that. What was the other thing? There was another quest. Why can't I accept more than one quest? What is this? Light darts. I have so many of those. Repair the relay beacon. That one's close. And then I got 10 minutes left. We gotta go. We'll do this. We'll go home and make the pistolas, and then save the rest for another day. Thank you for the hydrate, Aeon. You gotta hydrate with me though. Why was that so painful? Hydrate with water. I get the feeling you'd say, take more if you could. Yeah. Take it all. Interact. What is this? Whoa. Hello? Oh, that's radiation. Yeah, okay, let's go in. Nothing here. Why doesn't this compress the radiation, you think? What's this? Gotta go fast. Oh, there's no radiation here. Hello? Oh. Ah! Other side? Ooh. Where? Where do I go? Aha! Open your eyes, Ellie. It's right there. Just some minor radiation poison. So there's nothing here. Oh. And then now we go back. Got it, got it. Through here. And then what? And then what? Huh? Just repair the relay. How do I repair the relay beacon? What? Give me back my glasses. I need those to see. I don't know what I'm doing here. Why are you guys saying this? I'm being bullied. First of all, that's not nice. Second of all, I really can't see now. I'm naked. I am so lost. Where am I supposed to go? This way. Up? Up? Is there an up? Is there an up? There's no up. What do you mean? What do you mean? There's no up. My slippers! Like, why are you taking everything? I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go. I was going to have one where you could take off my apron too, but that's not ready. Up here? What? What? I'm so lost. I'm so lost and I'm taking radiation poison. Radiation... Bruh! not seeing things? Oh, hey, my glasses are back. Is there something I'm missing? Is it through here? Let me get a scanner. That's not a scanner. The one time I need a scanner, I don't have it. It says it's this way. Miso traded glasses for the slippers. Sorry, you guys can't see my slippers. It's down there. Maybe it's back this way. At least they didn't crash in open sand, you know? Checkpoint reached. What do you mean? What do you mean checkpoint reached? This way? Whoa! That's a lot of fuel cells. I don't need any. Okay. My static compactor is about to break. And it's not here either. Where do I go? I'm so lost. It says up. But where up? Where is up? Can I cut my way through? No. I can feel the radiation worms leaving. Seeing is too important. Believing is the essence. Seeing is believing. But like where? Y'all. Am I even supposed to be in here? Surely not. Surely it's just right here. It's just right here. What? Gah. This? Bruh. Don't mess with me. I can aim. Oh, there's one more. Oh, wait. Wait! These don't count. These don't count. These don't count. These don't count. Are you alive? No. Okay, what was that other thing? I can't re-roll you under 20 or over 20, so go do some affirmations, wash your face, put on some blush, maybe some lip gloss, and then try again in 5 minutes. Do we have 5 minutes? I don't know if we have 5 minutes. Where's the... Wait, what? Is it here? I have all those on. There's one thing you're missing. I think.
You're back? As it turns out, yes. While you were working to get the signal booster operational, the automated distress signal from the Mithra suddenly went dead.
What?
Odds are the power just ran out. A lot of our generators and batteries were smashed when the harvester fell.
Did I even need to go in
I
there?
have a workaround though.
What do you need me to
Make your way
do?
through the interior of the wreck. Activate the comms system's
Ah,
auxiliary power.
now I have
and
to
then
go in.
reactivate the distress beacon.
I went in there for no reason. I have to re-roll Ven because Ven got under. Cute. Oh, that's Caps. Cute. Ven. I tried. Dare I? Dare I? Ah! Oh no! Oh no! I gotta go. Guys. I gotta go. I'm ashamed. Thank you, I'm back. 74%. Nobody look at that earlier one. Thank you, thank you. Mama, mama. I owe you my life. The ribbon. It's because I didn't have my ribbon on. Thank you, Aeon. Okay. Enter the rack, activate power, send the signal. Got it. We were there. We didn't even need to be in there. Let's go into the wreck, and then that should be it. We are 2 minutes past. Where was the entrance? Right here? I don't even know how we found this. Is my thing broken? No, it's not. It just won't let me. Okay. It's probably gonna be like... You need to, Is this not the side entrance? Do I still not need to be in here? Where's the side entrance? We still don't need to be in here. Why? What? Okay. You know what? I think this is for another day. It's time to go. I'm gonna go home, make those pistolas, and then we'll play again Monday. I want to play more. But it's time to get off. We'll get off when we get to the base, okay? Just a few seconds more. Bear with me. Almost redeemed the ribbon to undo it. I wonder, I don't know if I have like a timer for that. So that it can't be spammed. I have no idea. Feed your cheese addiction, everyone. Spicy queso Funyuns? I have the regular spicy Funyuns. Ah! I know what I'm eating after stream. Not an actual meal, but Funyuns. Did you guys have lunch yet or breakfast? I'm about to have breakfast. So Funyuns, spicy Funyuns are gonna be my breakfast. And don't give me that look. It's a perfectly normal breakfast for any normal girl. Yeah, I'm just a girl. Breakfast of champions, exactly. My wings are orange. I don't know if you guys can see, but my wings are atrocious right now. Like, I kinda should repair. I need to repair my ship. This is our base. And then I gotta craft regular Mala pistols. You like my circle? I love circle builds. So it was very important for me to ignore the ceiling. Ignore the roof, but it was very important for me to build something circular in this base. I think the weapons thing is like right here somewhere, over there. But yes. That's it for today. We started dancing. Still dancing, kind of. We started chapter 2. I think this is just the start, but I'm looking forward to it. I need to see Zentara again. Please come back. Please come back. Need to talk to Ariste. We did all the quests in Arrakis. And then I think next stream Monday we're gonna do the quests in Harko, as well as continuing this one. I'll try not to do any quests in any story. I'll save that for stream. But everything else, grinding and all that stuff, I'll save for off stream. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thanks for being here. This VOD will be uploaded to YouTube in a few hours. If you haven't already, I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. VOD watchers, I love you. Thank you for the comments and for keeping me company. For the hydrates, that's very important. Last hydrate of stream. Yes, last hydrate. One more. Take a big sip. Refreshing water. I need like the water variant of that one. Okay. That's it, right? That's it. That's it for this week. I'll see you guys Monday. Have a good weekend. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to yourselves. Look in the mirror and say, "You're awesome." A good week down. I'll see you guys Monday. Love you. Bye bye. Bye bye. Mama.